Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Nicole Warschauer. I am the head of community over at Trusted Health. If you're not familiar, Trusted is the place for the modern nurse. We place nurses in travel assignments all across the country. And we also have a plethora of resources for you, the modern nurse. We have podcasts, we have blog posts, we have interviews, we have events like this, both virtual and hopefully at some point in person again. And tonight we're going to be talking about a wonderful topic with Miss Janine Kelbach. It's how to market your nursing skills. So here's a couple of things in terms of rules of engagement, if you will. If you have questions, which we know you will, and we hope you will, please ask them through the Zoom chat. Just go ahead and pop them in the question box, and I will filter them up to Janine when we have question time. Number two, this is your time to listen, learn, and connect from Janine, but also to connect with each other. So take some time, jot down those notes, jot down those other nurses who you may know or may work with. And then lastly, get inspired to market your nursing skills. A few things on the agenda. First, Janine's going to talk about a soft skill deep dive. Then we're going to discuss matching those soft skills to job opportunities. Third, we're going to talk about 5 steps to market your nursing skills. Fourth, LinkedIn tips. This is a hot topic for many a nurse. And then lastly, we'll leave plenty of time for Q&A. So with that, I will hand it over to Janine.
Thank you so much, Nicole. So I am Janine Kelbach. I am a labor and delivery nurse that has turned into freelance writer back in 2013, and now I own a content agency. It's called Write RN, and I own a podcast called The Savvy Scribe. So I appreciate if you guys would connect over there too and take a listen. I have a husband, 2 amazing boys, 15 and 8, and 2 Great Danes, and I'm an identical twin. So we're going to talk today about a lot of things like Nicole just said, but one of the first things we're going to talk about is the power of soft skills. Go next here. So what I want you guys to share in the chat is just one professional skill that you have. Just think about it for a second. Throw them over in there and just think about it. Think of something maybe your patient said or your coworkers say about you. These are some of the core soft skills that nurses have. And these might be on your list when we just said, to pick one. And it's professionalism, cultural awareness, detail-oriented, compassionate, we're critical thinkers, good communicators. Of course, we're empathetic, problem solvers, respectful, innovators, lifelong learners. We have strong work ethics. We're organized, we're productive, and we love to network. So maybe take a look at that list for a minute and see, if you just went down it, just check. What do you think would be some soft skills that you have? And try and pick the skills that you feel like relate to you the most. You might have a lot of those, but they might not be, relatable. And now we're going to go in a little deeper. And this is talking about 15 skills that nurses have that can translate into a different career. This isn't to take you away from the bedside, but it could. If you're maybe looking for something a little bit different, or maybe just something on the side, this might open your mind a little bit to know that you're not just a nurse. I hate that terminology because we're not just nurses. There's so much more to us. So take a look at administration. And the breakdown there is the soft skills. Well, all of them, right? You got to be organized. You got to be detail-oriented, all the things. Telehealth, this is something that is really, really coming to life since COVID. And we're looking at communication, organization, problem solving, professionalism, and cultural awareness. If you've ever thought to dive into pharmaceutical sales, now this is something I would never do. This is just wouldn't relate with me, but a lot of people do really well at it. And those soft skills are networking, Organization, a huge work ethic because you have to travel a lot and whatnot, respectful, communication, and professionalism. Something else, a legal nurse consultant. With my background in labor and delivery, this is an area that many nurses want to go into because we are unfortunately the #1 sued area of the hospital. So with that consultant role, you need to have professionalism. You got to be respectful, productive, have a strong work ethic, and definitely detail oriented. Maybe you're the educator of your department. If you are, you have to have some soft skills of a lifelong learner, detail oriented, productive, respectful, definitely a critical thinker and innovative, especially this day and age, right? We got to be very innovative with our teaching. Medical writer, this is what I love to specialize in. It's definitely the lifelong learner. You have to be open-minded into everything, detail oriented, a good work ethic, productive, organized, and a good communicator. Then we look at IT jobs, those soft skills. Maybe you want to go into informatics or the IT department in your hospital, be a problem solver, lifelong learner again, good communicator, respectful, professional, and innovative. Research coordinator, this is definitely a fun area to be in if you're very detail oriented, you like to network, have good communication skills, you're empathetic, critical thinker, compassionate, you're professional, organized, and I already said detail oriented, but there that is again. Another area of nursing that many don't think about when they're thinking of a different type of career is case management. Those soft skills are organization, professionalism, detail oriented, another lifelong learner, cultural awareness. Holistic health, those soft skills are lifelong learner, good work ethic, communication, empathy, professionalism, and cultural awareness again. You see how many of these kind of overlap, but I want you to look at those jobs again and think, what could I do? Just take a minute, think about it. And when you have those jobs kind of listed out, and I'll go over them again just for those of you that might have missed a couple. There's that holistic health, case management, IT job, a research coordinator, medical writer, educator, administration, telehealth, medical or pharmaceutical sales, or legal nurse consultant. So when you think about those jobs that you could do, the next thing I want you to think about is, what would you want to do? And that's a difference, because just because you could do something doesn't mean you want to do it, especially the rest of your life, right? Let's look at that job list again. So that's think about what you would like: a case management role, administration, telehealth, medical sales, legal consultant, educator, writer, IT analyst, research coordinator, or holistic health. I'm going to stop for a second and I want you guys to ask some questions or share your answers too. I'd love to hear what some of you guys are thinking.
I'll clarify too, in case anyone missed it, if they came in a little bit late, we are recording this and we will share the recording as well as the slide images within a day or so. So that'll be available. No questions yet in the chat, but some good vibes.
Cool.
Anyone have any questions for Janine right now?
We're going to go a little deeper, so you may have more questions as we go on.
Mel says, just started business focus, education, consulting, and writing. That's fantastic.
Well, and those three even connect together. You can be an educator who writes and consults for sure.
Ray, or Rye, I'm not sure. What types of certifications or extra education are needed for these?
That's a deep dive question, right? I guess it just depends on whichever one you go into. You know, as you guys know, in nursing, there's so many different certifications, and a lot of these different roles have different certifications to go with them. For example, case management definitely has a certification. IT has certification. There's IT programs where they want you to be an informatic nurse. That would be a master's degree, but you don't always have to. A lot of IT jobs just want a nurse who knows the EMR, or for example, educator. Usually you don't need your master's to educate unless you're doing clinicals or in, a college. So just depends on whichever one you decide on.
Serena asked, I'm a field case manager. Does that count as case management?
What's her role is what I would ask. So sometimes a case manager is more of a home care nurse in a sense, where you have a caseload. Case management is usually off, like not in a home. You're really not face to face with the patient often. You're doing a lot of behind the scenes coordination.
She says hospice home health.
Okay, so, and is she coordinating it or is she actually doing the care?
Serena, you can pop that in the chat. Both.
Okay, well then she's not fully a case manager. I have a good friend, Deanna Gillingham. She owns the Case Management Institute. There's a Facebook group with like 15,000 case managers. So if you're interested in building on that, that's a great place to connect.
Very cool. Another person is opening their own nurse concierge business.
Ooh, yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's a big thing too right now, is patient advocacy, where you're really like, sometimes it's picking up patients and taking them to the doctor and doing all those things right now, because again, a lot of people are so alone and need that language that a nurse can bring.
Absolutely. Well, let's keep going. I'm sure we'll have
all right, let's do this.
Thanks, Janine.
All right, so now we're going to talk about 5 steps to transition your nursing skills into a newfound career. So now we kind of narrowed down a little bit. You can have an idea. We don't have to, know exactly, but this is the steps you'd want to take, right? Oh, important note here. Women only apply for jobs when they are 100. Did I wait? There we go. Hold on, I skipped a slide. Sorry, guys. Too clicky here. So which qualities in the job description do you already possess? So if you find a job, say it's case manager, look at those qualities in the job description that you already possess. Now, for example, a leader is in the job description. Have you been a charge nurse? Are you able to work independently? Include all of that. You've had like a big caseload of patients every day. Include those things. Read the job descriptions and the new industry news for the industry you want to transfer into, to gather ideas for what those companies are looking for in employees. So when you create a resume, when you have to kind of talk their language in a sense to really get their attention. Okay, here's our important note again. Women only apply for jobs when they are 100% qualified. This is interesting because men, on the other hand, tend to apply when they are only 60% qualified. I think that's very interesting. When this data was released via an internal report by Hewlett Packard several years ago, many credited this disparity to a lack of confidence among women, which I think we can all agree with. Unless we, as women too, I think we're just we like want things done all the way, right? So I think that's just kind of how a lot of women are, and we wouldn't consider ourselves qualified unless we are all the way qualified. So keep in the back of your mind that men are applying 60% qualified. So the second thing is you're going to want to connect the dots to that job description and then to what you do. So really look at, what you're covering in that job description when you're trying to apply to the job. So how can you create your own career roadmap? Look at the job you're applying for and see the roadmap to getting there. Maybe you're applying for an IT role, from bedside to nurse role. Think about the skills you might possess: strong work ethic, good communicator, problem solver, organized and productive, and think about how you can incorporate those skills into your cover letter and resume. In a resume objective, highlight those experiences you have. Make it clear how your former career has provided you the skills you need for this industry and the new job. And I really like this graphic that Nicole made because I think it really touches on every little thing on how to get to the role you want. You don't, just because you're a bedside nurse doesn't mean you're only a bedside nurse. You have so many more soft skills that can translate. So the next thing you're going to want to do is highlight those soft skills, right, in that cover letter and, really make it stand out. So building your narrative through those soft skills. If you were the go-to nurse, for example, for IV starts, great. But when you are applying for those outside the bedside jobs, the skills that matter most are the ones that the nurse possesses internally. So if you love to teach, brag about those that you've already educated. Talk about how you've made a care plan personalized for your patient and how you made it for them to understand, those big disease processes and their diagnoses and their meds and how you did that. Maybe your unit isn't doing well in an area and you came up with a solution because of your love for research. Depending on whichever career you go into, look at those soft skills. So we look at those translating care plans, solution building, learning and researching, and educating. Fourth step, we're going to create a resume. A lot of you are like, oh gosh, I haven't done that since I applied for my first nursing job. And this can be very scary, but I believe that we have some help here. So your resume revamped, some tips to get you started. You're going to want to start with an objective. Write down your skills from your job description. Your skills section, highlight those hard and soft skills from your previous job and enlist help. So resume support, there's a lot of, there's so much out there that it's almost overwhelming, but I love that Trusted has a resume builder. So you can just easily navigate it through them. So, and there it is. There's a little Trusted thing. So I think that's really neat because that is a weakness. A lot of nurses are too scared to apply for jobs because they just don't even know where to start with a resume again. Or it looks like a resume from 1995 and you got to make it look a little bit different these days. So those jobs beyond the bedside, where can you find them? And, that might be the number one thing you came for today is where can we find these away from the bedside jobs? So remote work, the remotenurse.com, and her name is Sadie, who runs that website, and she's amazing. She has a subscription program where you can just apply and get different jobs selected just for you. And she has a Facebook group as well. You can set alerts through Indeed and Google Jobs and Monster.com and through LinkedIn. LinkedIn has their own jobs platform as well. And Trusted has vaccine jobs. So we need people to do that as well. So to wrap up this part of the section, we're going to touch on those 5 steps again. So first, you're going to look at those job descriptions. Ask yourself, what qualities do I already have? And remember those soft skills, like what type of qualities in the soft skills, and then connect the dots. Review how nursing has helped you become better prepared for this new path. Highlight those soft skills again. Those skills that matter most are the ones that you have internally. Create a resume. You're going to start with the objectives and use their words from the job description to highlight you. Find more jobs. Use job search websites to help you on your hunt. And a few words on LinkedIn. The one thing I want to say, and you guys could post in the chat, and Nicole, you don't even have to say anything right now, but I want to know how many of you have a LinkedIn profile that you are active on. Not that you created 2 years ago, but that you actually go in and look at. Because I already know the answer.
I can run a quick poll.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it. I want to know, do you have a LinkedIn profile that you are active on within the last 2 months?
Give me a hot second and I'll put one in there just off the cuff. This is going real off the cuff. Do you have a LI profile?
We like off the cuff. We're nurses.
That's what I'm not, but I love y'all. I'll do anything for you. Okay. And can you see it?
I can see it.
Okay.
Can you guys see it?
There we go. We'll give it, I don't know, 10 or 15 seconds and let everybody reply.
I hope I'm wrong in my prediction.
What was your prediction? Did you voice your prediction?
I didn't say it yet.
Okay. Don't say it.
All right.
You don't want to sway the audience.
No.
Haven't yet voted, just to clarify, please let us know if you have a LinkedIn profile.
That you're active on.
What does active mean?
Like within the last 2 months, have you read it, been in it? And it's okay if you already voted.
All right, we've got about 72% of people have voted, so we're gonna close it and share results. Can you see the results?
I can, yep, and I guess no. And that is okay, but today you're gonna change that. If not today, tomorrow, because it's East Coast here and you don't have to do it tonight. But I want you to understand why it's important to have a LinkedIn presence. Now, personally, I have mine set up to actually not get nursing jobs because that's not what I'm out there for on LinkedIn. But if you're a nurse and you are looking for a different job, you need to have a LinkedIn profile. Recruiters are over there so much and can really find you the job that you really want, especially if you're looking beyond the bedside. So your profile is where you're going to start, and you're going to set your profile to public. You're going to have a profile picture, never a selfie. I don't care if you set your phone up and put it on a timer against a blank wall and put your phone away. Take a professional photo or have like your spouse take it or something like that. You're going to want a headline and a summary. This is where you're going to create your own, and your skills and your networks. When you are creating your profile, you're going to want to start with a headline. And this is the number one area. You'll see my headline is where that red arrow is. And that is, I help companies create amazing health related content with my team of nurse writers. That is what I do. You might say, this is what you're going to want to say to go into your next role. I help whoever you help do this to solve Z, in a sense, XYZ kind of formula. So, and then always put your credentials up there and that you're a registered nurse. And then you're going to want to stalk some people in the industry to see what they have as their headlines and summaries to help give you ideas. You're obviously not going to steal what they've written, but make it your own. So if you're searching to do a job in IT, you're going to want to look up a nurse who works in IT and kind of take a look at what her language says in her summary, because that's going to also help you with your resume and the way that language that we were talking about is conveyed over in that industry. Your summary is the statement that shows what you are doing and what you are transitioning into doing. So you can say something like, my experience with leadership as a charge nurse for many years has brought me into a career of leadership. Never say that you were laid off or something negative about the past career or current career you have. Bring those soft skills to light and add them to why you are changing directions. In your skills, you're going to want to remember from doing your research in the industry to include those skills that can transfer into the next career. And then networks, you're going to want to include networks and skills in your LinkedIn profile, accomplishments, certifications, anything that holds you at a higher standard professionally. I know that's a lot. Bear with me here. Industry groups, you're going to want to ask and answer questions. So this is talking about a little bit more of the engagement side of things. You're going to want to network in those groups. LinkedIn is like Facebook, has groups that are related in the industry for those that you're pursuing. Get in those groups, ask questions, answer questions, and connect with others. So for example, when we talk about social media in my agency, we always ask companies, where is your audience? Where do they hang out? people hang out in different areas. For example, many nurses are on Facebook and Instagram. So if I was marketing something, I would market over to Facebook and Instagram if I'm trying to target nurses. But if I'm a recruiter or a business CEO or executive, I'm over on LinkedIn because that's where my people are. That's where I want to see things. So I think more nurses need to be over on LinkedIn to really get that industry of nursing known. There's a lot of things over on LinkedIn that I appreciate about nurses. A lot of different areas really celebrate nursing, especially in COVID. I mean, that was the year of the nurse, wasn't it? Even better, you're going to want to do an informational call with someone if you can, to ask them about if they like their career and how you can get yourself seen. What's cool is that LinkedIn now has an ability, once you connect with people on LinkedIn, you can leave them a short little message that's voice. And as you might know, there's a new platform out there called Clubhouse, and it's all voice. People are connecting with voices. It's not just video. It's not just hanging out, in networking groups now. People like to hear other people's voices. So you can leave a message for a nurse that's in that industry and ask her, what do you like about it? I'm thinking about going into this industry, and she can voice text back to you. As a nurse, even though I have my own business, I have nurse job recruiters reaching out to me all the time. If you are on LinkedIn, here are some tips on how to transition into an industry and how to portray that on your profile. First, you want to start becoming very knowledgeable in the industry, which we already talked about, and it will help you with the jargon in that industry. You want to talk to them. You want to talk like them, I'm sorry, and think like that, like the order to understand the job as much as possible. It will also make you not blindsided by what they expect you or what the industry actually looks like. For example, my industry of OB nursing, people think we rock babies all the time, and then they come in it and they're at the bedside and their patient's hemorrhaging and they're running back to the OR, and all those bad things. They're like, oh, wow, I guess I don't rock babies. So it's kind of like that if you think about it in another type of industry. You never know who you'll meet, I'm sorry, and how you'll get the in. It's not about your qualifications a lot of the time anymore. Think about it. It's about who you know. Think about people that you work with. How do they get in the positions they are? They usually knew someone in that industry before they could get in it. So this is a great way to connect with other people. And then you never know who you'll meet and who you get the in, but make sure you go at it as a serving purpose and not a selfish person. And what I mean by that is always ask them how you can help them. Is there anything they have questions about in your line of work, or maybe you have questions for them, and try to make it very easy for them to connect with you. Anything you can make it so that you're helping them too. And job alerts. So did you know you can get a job right through LinkedIn? You can sign up for their job alerts and they will send you job alerts that match your profile. So always think of it as a serving purpose and not a selfish purpose when you're going out there. Remember, these social platforms are to be social, not to be by yourself. So to-dos for your checklist here. You're going to research the industry to become more knowledgeable. You're going to use a professional business profile, create an incredible headline, create a clear summary, try to not be wordy, network in groups, and set up those job alerts. That was a lot. So let's hear some questions.
Any advice on LinkedIn for nurses re-entering the workforce? For example, this particular nurse has been a stay-at-home mom for 15 years, but she has experience and her license is continually active, which good on you. That is probably the number one thing you should do. Right, Janine?
Yeah. So she's a stay-at-home mom for many years. What was her nursing background?
I don't know.
No, okay, then what is she going into? Kind of both. What was she doing? What's she thinking about going into?
Misty?
I was in pediatric nursing.
Okay.
And I've also done, I did my first year was med-surg adult, and I did pediatric. I also did some women and children's services in general and floated to like OB, not labor and delivery. and would still do some floating, but that was 15 years ago. And doing some training online to get the CDC certificates for vaccinations and things like that. So I'm doing a nursery entry course, and I already have a clinical site. So excited about that. But as far as, I want to find the right fit. I don't want to just take the first job that is offered to me. I'm a little too old to be doing that now. I'm not too old, but I'm not 20 anymore. So I got to get this right quicker.
So what are you looking to go into?
I think at this point, I'm wanting to transition into maybe some ambulatory care or some, I know it sounds a little ER, ICU. I would love to try it, but I know you can't just jump right into that. So
you can always shadow. You can always shadow to see if it's a good fit for you. And then, I always say people leave jobs because of, not because of the job, but because of the people around them. So I feel like a lot of people stay at jobs because they are supported, they have great teamwork, they have great nurses to lean on, management's great, scheduling's good. So a lot of people stay at jobs because of that. So I feel like before you ever jump into something, shadow 4 hours, nothing crazy. Go in there, follow a nurse around, see how they treat each other, see how she talks about her coworkers, see how other people are talking, and that will help you with your decision for sure. And it will also help you understand, being older and coming back into the field, you're going to either get invited. It's like the new grad thing, right? New grads are either shunned away, nurses eat their young, or they're going to think like, oh, she's did this 15 years ago, what does she know now? Or they're going to be like, oh, she knows way more than we do, wonder what she thinks of us doing this now, da da da. And then in your resume, I think it'd be a great thing to say, like, I took time to raise my children and all these things, but I've always wanted to keep my nursing license active, and I was a lifelong learner. I don't think anybody would shun you away because you took time off, because you did everything you possibly could to keep things going right. So, people go PRN all the time. People go from full-time to part-time. So I think you should shadow, get a good feel of the departments and how they run, and that will help you a lot in your like pros and cons list of where you want to end up.
Thank you, Janine.
Sure.
Thanks a lot. Yeah,
Sure.
that's correct.
Couple more questions. How do you explain or display gaps in work experience? Kind of alluded to in the last question, but.
Yeah, so I think, the same thing. I would allude to just say, I took some time off. Be honest. People like honesty. Just say, I took some time off because I had a sick relative. You don't have to put that in your resume, but eventually they're going to ask, well, I see you had some time off. Why'd you stop working? Or I don't even know if they're allowed to ask that, but in a sense, you can put that you took time off to raise your kids or whatever, and you're ready to jump back in the workforce to help the nurses out there that need help right now.
I think they can ask. I don't think that's a protected question. But what they can't ask is, do you have a family or anything like that? I think they can ask about your, do you mind
reason for the gap
time off? You could say it was a personal circumstance. You can be pretty
general.
If I'm wrong on that, please dip into the chat and tell me. Couple other questions. Oh, go ahead.
Are we able to ask questions, or are you reading
you
questions
can
from
the
someone?
chat? Yeah, we're just going down the line to make sure everyone can get addressed. So if you've got a question, just throw them in the chat so we don't talk over each other, as that tends to do on Zoom. Thank you so much. Let's see. Samantha asked, if I'm trying to just learn more information about a certain field and curious about their role, how can I offer to be a service to them? For example, I'm interested in holistic nursing, but I have no experience. I'm not sure how to phrase questions that aren't just self-serving. I assume that's for like a LinkedIn question, like an informational question.
So I would definitely, if it's holistic nursing, look at those nursing leaders out there that are doing that the best. So I don't know anybody off the top of my head, but I know a lot of people are going into the holistic side, and just connect with them and just say, I really love what you're doing, and I'm curious how you got started, or whatever that question might be. But just say, because I'm very interested. I love the way holistic medicine and Western medicine can connect to help our patients. And a lot of people don't look at that holistic side. So really just talk about the industry, and then eventually somewhere will come up in conversation how you can help them.
Great. And Mel pointed out that there's a holistic nursing association with a ton of valuable information. I think that's a really important point, that associations are your best friend. If you're interested in a particular discipline, find those associations and get that knowledge base there.
Yep.
Another nurse asked, what if I'm hoping to re-enter to a subspecialty? How do I demonstrate that I'm an expert in tele, or if I have no experience, how does one arrange for an unpaid clinical? Any tips are appreciated.
So if it's at the hospital you're already working at, I think it's just simple to go to that director of that department to ask if you can shadow. Most of them are going to say, absolutely, come on over. Whenever, what day would you want to? Or if you know somebody who's working on that floor and you're interested to go work with them, again, the same thing. And then if you're interested in that job, then say, I would love to put in a resume with you. And really talk up the staff, like, oh, your staff was incredible. Everybody was so helpful. I really love to see the teamwork. Your doctors were amazing. Really loved the patient we even worked with. This is truly where I feel like I belong. Talk all those things, and then give her the resume. And I guarantee next time there's a job opening, because you'd be surprised how many people don't apply to jobs. I mean, I know that sounds silly, but there's many lookers out there, but the actual process of going through to actually apply, that's how you weed a lot of people out, because it's not easy to just apply for a job. You have to do a lot of steps and, get weeded out in a sense. So if you do that unpaid, just connect with the director.
Great advice. One person asked, how do I stop LinkedIn from getting travel recruiters? That's all I get, even though I'm labeled as a clinical specialist and clinical analyst. I'm a travel nurse now, but want out.
Yeah, good luck. I mean, they will seek you out.
Sidebar, Trusted does not have recruiters. We will not stalk you. So if you want to stay in travel nursing, go to our site, but we will not stalk you and call you. So that is not.
Oh my gosh. I remember I put a little feeler out there when my twin sister was doing travel nursing. Oh my gosh. Like my phone would never stop ringing. It was like I'd rather actually have LinkedIn messages than the constant phone calls 100% of the time. At least you can ignore those on LinkedIn. But, back when you had just home phones all the time, it would wake me up after night shift. Oh, I get so mad. It's so annoying.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, not a nurse here, but I'm on LinkedIn very frequently in the marketing community space. If you're getting messages, because I get recruiter messages often too for different reasons, I think just being really honest, like, please take me off your list. Like sometimes you have to use those exact words, like, I don't want to be contacted. Thank you for your time. Usually we'll at least get that agency off. I don't think I, or probably Janine, would recommend like putting something in your profile about that, because that can be a little bit on the aggressive side, but it's just kind of the deal with being on LinkedIn sometimes, unfortunately. Yeah. Let's see, we have a few more. These are great questions, y'all. Let's see. I'm interested in alternative nursing jobs like remote work that give you room to start a family or go back to school. There's no question there. It was just a comment. So I think in that case,
that's awesome.
That's great. I think there's a lot of options for you. This particular nurse, as Janine mentioned, these jobs can be found in a variety of places, not just, through Remote Nurse. Sadie is incredible on LinkedIn, on these other sites. Again, if you want a vaccine job, we have 4-week contracts, things like that. But I think you kind of have to get your feelers out there and see what'll work best for you and your family and have those conversations. Right, Janine?
Yeah. And, just to talk up Sadie again, I think what she's done is great, because a lot of people are like, wait, there's remote jobs? Like, what can I do as an OB nurse? And then you just can go to her platform and you could actually see what you can do. But yeah, like, how cool is it that you could just do a 4-week assignment and give shots? I mean,
yeah, it's amazing. And you're doing so much good too, just like
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We have more questions. I'm going to keep going since we saved the time, right? We've gone through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys are good.
Let's see. I've been a nurse for almost 2 years and have worked in a busy med-surg unit, now post-op care unit. My goal is to do travel nursing for a few years and hopefully transition to the ER. I'm not sure if that's possible. What do you recommend?
Why is it not possible? It's absolutely possible.
No, I'm
for
not sure if
sure.
that's possible. I think that's totally possible.
Especially, I mean, what ER director wouldn't want somebody with travel experience?
I was gonna
Definitely
say,
go travel.
I was like, if you can travel, not go travel.
Go
Come
travel.
trusted and we'll help you. Yeah, we have so many amazing positions and really incredible cities doing great work. So, and you have 2 years experience roughly. Like that's what we look for on the travel side is 2 years. So do it.
And I think, don't doubt yourself. Everything's learnable, right? We learned a lot of different areas in nursing school. Unfortunately, a lot of people didn't get to go to the ER because that wasn't, you don't see a lot of specialty areas. But, bringing the skills you've learned from med surg, prioritization, task management, organization, patient rapport, just doing all those, it will only translate to the ED when you're, doing those things very, very quickly. So don't ever doubt yourself.
Super capable. Serena asked, should you wait to apply until you have X amount of time at your current job to avoid looking like you're job hopping? I think it's a really good question.
It is a good question, but I'll tell you, this day and age, I would have told you different 15 years ago, but now people are job hopping all the time because they can. People are realizing, and this is not to dog any hospital, but many hospitals, you don't get anything for seniority. They know nurses are lifelong learners. They want to experience different areas. Why not? Maybe people don't want to be on night shift for 10 years, whatever that might be. People are looking at this day and age, they're more concerned about their time. They're more concerned about their time off, like how much they have to commit to their job. And there's nothing wrong with that. So don't ever think, as long as you have some experience, they're not going to care how long of that experience was.
Steph asked, I'm a newer RN that's been on the cardiac unit. I float to med surg and other units. I'm trying to get into travel nursing. I need help with what to add to my resume since I've only had one RN position. Totally fine, by the way. Do you have any pointers on what to add to make it better or a website that assists with resumes for nurses? If you popped in late, Steph, we do have a resume tool on Trusted. It is so clean, so easy. You pop in your objectives, where you've worked, your different specialties and certifications, and it's so simple. But of course, I'll pop it to Janine too to add anything there.
And no, I think that was good. I think to add, how long did she say how long she's been a nurse?
About a year. Hold on.
Get that year in, and then you're eligible to travel. So
you said newer, so I assume it's about a year. But
yeah, get a year in. I would say. I think most travel companies want you after 1 year. Sometimes two. Yeah, especially for specialty areas for sure. Especially too in this COVID era. If you just have 1 year and you're floated and it's a COVID center, like that's a lot. So just be gracious to yourself and give yourself some time to learn first and then get out there. But don't get too comfortable, because if you really want to travel, it's easy to stay, and it's such a great experience to be able to travel.
Yeah. And I'll add to on the vaccine job front, because we have had such an influx of vaccine jobs and Trusted specifically, that's all I can speak to. We look for 1 year of nursing experience roughly. So if you're hitting your year in March or April, now is the time to start looking for those vaccine jobs. And they're usually 4-week contracts or a little bit longer.
Are they travel?
Yes.
See, there you go. You can just get your foot in right there and say, yep, I already did a travel assignment, and then go from there. Now you have that under your belt, and now you can even expand from there.
Yep. Let's see. I want to get to a couple more questions. So hello, I was terminated after 22 years in facility. I basically questioned an order and an ER in a 5-hour code. The doctor didn't like it and had me fired. So I had to take time off and regroup, spend holidays with my family. Now I'm actively looking and applying. How do I use my experience to my benefit? I mean, my God, you have 22 years of experience.
You don't have to say that you were let go. You can just say that you decided to move on.
Parted ways with your employer.
Yeah, because if it's an easy negative cycle to get into if you say like, they question my order, then this doctor, you're throwing blame, you're doing all those things, and nobody wants to hear it. They just want to know that you moved on and you took some time off. Exactly what you said. You took some time off to be with your family, and now you're back and looking for a new position.
A better fit facility.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the one thing to note on that is when it comes to your referrals, like just be very aware of who you choose as your references or your referrals.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. How often can I move between jobs without detriment? I feel like we've talked about that a little bit. And the best background for starting a travel career, there are a variety, in my opinion, again, not a nurse, but work for a nursing company here. I like to throw that out there as a qualifier. I think there's a lot of backgrounds that would work best. It really depends on your discipline and what you're very comfortable doing in a hospital setting. Janine, anything to add?
Yeah, there's so many careers that you can do, like everything in the hospital you can do pretty much as a traveler. So just make sure you're pretty comfortable in where you work and your skills, because a lot of it translates. It's just going to be different systems and different people, but the care for the patient's always the same.
Yep. What are the options out there for work from home jobs for nurses, particularly for LPNs? I'm struggling to find a work from home job.
Work from home for LPNs. I know there's someone who was doing some case management as an LPN, but I don't know exactly how she got into it or what she was doing that I was talking to recently. I know a lot of LPNs do home health, but again, that's not exactly from home. I'm trying to think what else for the LPNs.
I'd say if you're not on Sadie's site, the remote nurse, you should check that out. I think
check that out.
Jobs there too. Yeah.
And if anything, I will say, I'm a promoter for education. Like if people should get educated, if that's what they want to do, go for your master's and specialize if that's what you want to do. But I do feel if there's one push I do, it's for an LPN to become an RN, because it's definitely something that will benefit you all the way around. So if you have that opportunity to become an RN, do it for job security too.
I'll throw in a note where if you're at a facility and they can pay for that education, look at that. There are a lot of opportunities that way. Yeah. If that's what you want. That's a big qualifier.
Exactly.
Let's see. I'm interested in applying for an implementation nurse consultant position, but I'm concerned about my experience as a nurse manager being applicable. How do I market my resume with the right approach to the position?
What is it? An implementation?
Implementation nurse consultant. Elena asked the question.
I don't even know what that is, but what I would say an implementation nurse consultant and management, well, as a manager, you implemented a whole lot because you had to. So I would take those soft skills, like we said, and throw those into your resume. And also look at that job description and take some wording out of there to throw into your resume that mimics your background as a manager.
Good advice.
I don't like that everybody's doubting themselves. You guys are so great.
Y'all are, truly.
Seriously.
Yep.
You could do anything.
I am super interested, Anne says, I'm super interested in vaccine position, been looking for months and no luck, and I have experience in vaccinations. Any advice? Anne, are you signed up on Trusted? And if you are not,
it is time.
It is time. We will come find me. Let's see. Elena actually mentioned she had 10 years clinical experience plus 2 years management. Yeah, don't doubt yourself, Elena.
Yeah, Elena, you got this.
You've got it. Elena also mentioned, could you further discuss the prospect of becoming a nurse writer? That's intriguing. I'd love to do that on the side as she loves to write.
Cool. Yeah, I became interested in it because I was looking for something from home. And it started as just like, oh, I made $50 on an article. Sweet. And then it turned into, okay, I think I could do this a little more often. And so what happens, companies like Trusted hire nurses to write because there's this thing in Google, it's called like the EAT strategy, but one of them is expertise and authoritative and trustworthiness. Well, that's all three of them. But anyways, what they want is when Google searches websites, they want people who work in those industries to write the content. So if you're a lawyer, you'd want to write content for lawyers or content for people that are seeking out legal help. So you wouldn't want to read content written by a nurse for people seeking legal help, or content written by nobody, a normal writer, if they're looking for legal help. It's the same thing for health content. So if you're looking for content, you want a trusted person, medical person to write that. So companies want nurses to write, and that's how I found my side job in a sense. So yeah, it's just those companies that are looking for writers. You can look up, medical writers and see how that, that job description is worded, but that's what I do.
It's amazing. And she's so good at it. I will say from personal experience. So good at it. All right, I've got a question from Denise. And by the way, website for vaccine jobs. So trustedhealth.com, you can sign up and you'll get, it's one click after you get signed up to get matches with any type of job, travel, or vaccine. So hop there. And if you have questions, we have folks all the time ready to answer your questions, but no recruiters. We have nurse advocates who are or were bedside nurses or travel nurses who know exactly what you're going through and can help you through the process. All right. We have a question from Denise. I've been in the ambulatory setting for many years as a team member and a team leader. I'm having a difficult time getting back to the inpatient environment. Any tips on how to better market my experience?
So she worked in ambulatory care. I think you just talk about what you've done. You have years of experience. I don't know why there's an issue to get into inpatient. I feel like there's a lack of nurses right now, and a lot of companies want nurses. So I would take a look at your resume again. Take a look, are you getting interviews? Are you getting anything? How many feelers have you put out there? And I would always say, like, people that are nurses that are trying to become writers that I help, pitching is one of the things. So I always wonder, like, how many jobs are you actually applying to? Are you only applying to one job and hoping for the best? Or did you apply for 5 and still not getting anything? So, you sometimes have to go through a bunch of jobs before you actually land one, in a sense. So don't just do a one and done approach. Make sure you're applying to different areas to get back in inpatient.
Got it. Great advice. I think the overarching theme is that don't doubt yourself. Like,
don't doubt yourself
and use your
tweak it a little bit, but don't just give up.
Yeah, it might be multiple roles that you have to apply for to get what you need. Yep.
Yeah.
I think those. Any more questions? I'll wait for a minute or two and then we'll wrap it up. But this has been incredibly illuminating. I hope you all got a ton out of this event. Janine, you've been fabulous as expected.
Thank you. Ditto.
Oh, last one. We'll take this last question from Serena. Any recommendations on career coaches? That's a loaded question.
I know Nurse Keith, he does career coaching. That is a loaded question. I think even looking at just a mentor, somebody who's maybe been doing this longer than you, or want to help nurses get into different areas, or even like if there's a manager on a different floor that you connected with. You don't always need a career coach, but another fun thing to do is if you're active on like Facebook, just put a little status update and just say, if you were describing me to other people, what would you say? And you're going to hear so many things. This is a good, everyone do this because everyone's doubting themselves. Put that up, see what people respond with, because it's going to be things that you don't even know that you do. So if you can put that into words on a resume, that's going to only elevate yourself more. So personally, I think like, okay, I doubt myself all the time. I'm like, oh, I'm organized, but I could do better. And I'm not going to put that down because I know way more other people that are organized, more than I am. And, just different things where you look at those soft skills and you're like, well, I'm detail oriented, but like, she's really detail oriented. So that can't be exactly what I am. But if other people are seeing it in you, use those to your advantage and put that in a resume, put that in anything on your LinkedIn profile in that summary.
Of course. Great advice, as usual. Janine, thank you so much. I hope everybody got so much out of the session, and I did too. And again, that this is not my specialty. So I think it's a really good career advice to advocate for yourself. Make sure you're making those connections. Get yourself on LinkedIn if you're not already. Get yourself on Trusted if you're not connected. Again, it's not just about travel assignments. We have an incredible array of vaccine roles. Just sign yourself up, and you can always reach out to your nurse advocate if you're confused about which roles would apply to you. And then lastly, we have lots of virtual events coming up. We actually have one next week about how to make friends and influence nurse leaders if you're interested in communication, which is it's going to be a really fun event led by Lori Armstrong, who does quite a bit of career coaching for nurse leaders. So she's got some really great insight to share. And one more thing, if you haven't already, make sure that you give us some feedback about this event. Let us know how we did. You're going to get a survey in your email in about 20 minutes after the event concludes. It is so helpful for me, for our team at Trusted, to really carve these events for you, to make sure that we're giving you what you need and what you want. So thank you again for spending an hour with us. We really appreciate you and everything you're doing. And to Janine, again, thank you. This has been so much fun to spend the time.
You got it. Thank you guys for having me. And I'm holding all you nurses to a thing to just connect with me over on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
Just to know you did it.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Have a great
everybody.
evening. Good night.
Bye, everybody.